Hi guys, it is Lewis EF1 here, and today I'm going to be discussing Indycar, North America's premier open wheel motorsports division, or as some F1 elitists call it, the American version of F1, which is way worse than F1. Well, IndyCar is very different to F1 in a lot of ways, and you'll see that in this video. This video is about IndyCar, which is an open wheel racing series like F1, but it's comprised only in North America. Well, I say that, hoping they become a world championship once again. As they used to be one, I would say personally the last year was 2011, as in 2011 they had the twin ring Motegi, which is oval in Japan, but they used the road circuit for that year, and a Sao Paulo street circuit, which are the two races outside of North America, with two races being in Canada. IndyCar uh, IndyCar has had some very class drivers, and they've birthed some very good drivers or given them recognition, like Helio Castroneves, Scott Dixon, Dan Weldon, Gilles DeFerrin, Will Power, Tony Kanaan, Danica Patrick, and Tony Stewart, not even including the Andretti family. They have three racing packages: the Super Speedway package, the Speedway package, and the Road Course package. IndyCar have 2.2-liter twin turbo V6s that produce from 500 to 750 horsepower depending on the track, and 60 more horsepower including the usage of push to pass. Push to pass is like KERS in F1, but it's over race distance and everyone has 120 seconds to start with. They use E10 or E10 E85 fuel with 15% of gasoline to fill up the 100%. IndyCar has two slick tire compounds: the red, the alternate, and the primaries. And they have a wet tire compound if needed only on road courses, because wets on ovals would be hectic and there would be a lot of crashes, and yeah. IndyCar has feeder series just like F1 does. They have Indy Lights, which is now called Indy Next, and they should have never changed the name. Now the name's worse, and they didn't need a name change in the first place. The Indy Pro 2000 and the US F2000. IndyCar has a 6-speed paddle gearbox, just like how everyone uses paddles nowadays, and it's very frustrating because a manual stick is just better, even though when you shift in, the car has to take a little bit of time. But I digress. IndyCar has famously no power steering, and it is a spec series. Spec series, basically, the cars are equal, as the teams all buy the car chassis from Dallara, and that would mean they are very dependent on driver skill and setup, as well as engines from the two engine manufacturers, Chevrolet and Honda. Fun fact, Porsche wanted to join, and I believe it was 2019, but IndyCar didn't want them to have a hybrid powertrain because Porsche wanted a hybrid powertrain, and IndyCar was like, well, we're not going to allow that, so Porsche left, and then like a month later they changed the rule book, which is very interesting. Biggest, I feel like the most known part of IndyCar history is the car IRL split. The car IRL split happened in the 90s, and I could go much further about it, but I'll give you like a rough explanation that's not too rough because it has a decent amount of information in it. But yeah. So, the current president at the time of IMS, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Tony George, was unhappy with the sport as, like others, he didn't like how many foreign drivers and how many road courses were on the schedule because he believed that this was disrupting the USAC sprint car talent like Jeff Gordon, for instance, who in another timeline could have been racing in IndyCar. So Tony George took his track, IMS, and his thoughts with him, and he left the IndyCar board and he started the Indy Racing League, which only had ovals and they had cost caps. The IRL is what IndyCar is today, so they basically had that same chassis gizmo kind of as well. Other other manufacturers made the chassis, but the racing was closer per se. The kart sanctioning body at first they have all the big teams like Team Penske, Chip Ganassi, and Newman Haas, with the IRL only having the Indianapolis 500, which was the crown jewel event. Everybody wanted to race in it. It was very frustrating for drivers because they want to race for the big teams, but the drivers themselves also want to race in the Indy 500. So it's which one do you pick? These two series would vie for open wheel reign, with everybody that isn't the governing bodies receiving the damaging blows. Despite the IRL being started to stop NASCAR's growth, one of the reasons why he wanted to return to oval racing, helped NASCAR because, well, they didn't have to deal with this one big open wheel sanctioning body that raced on some ovals. It was two bodies fighting against each other, which eventually brought them diminishing returns because what do you know? If you got a rival, someone battling the same market as you, all that success you had will decrease. So they basically had their highs and lows. Kart started out as the strongest, more liked out of the two, the more popular. But over time, Kart faltered, and they never really looked back as the IRL started taking reign. They would declare bankruptcy in 2003 and be bought by three car owners to form Champ Car from 2004 to 2008 when the IRL and Champ Car merged after a buyout from the IRL after Champ Car filed for bankruptcy to complete the merger in February of 2008. IndyCar has remained a single series since. Another thing Indy was known for, especially during the split, was the danger of driving these cars. I mean, you're driving over 200 miles per hour on ovals with with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, almost going up to 240. Like Ari Lyondike has the fastest one lap speed, and it's 237.9, I believe. It's absolutely insane. Though his 4 lap average time isn't the record, which is actually interesting about IndyCar. To qualify for the Indianapolis 500, it doesn't have a normal-ish type of qualifying. You have an average lap time that is set over the basis of 4 laps. So you don't need one good lap, you need 4 good laps. And it's based on miles per hour, not time, which Americans love doing. They don't love basing it on who's the fastest around the track, just who's the most consistent. So, IndyCar, they suffered 4 deaths since the year 2000, with 5 also happening in the 90s. Among these men are 7-time IndyCar racer Justin Wilson, who also had an F1 test. He drove one full season of F1, if I remember correctly. 2005 and 2011 Indy 500 winner Dan Weldon, who also won the series in 2005. Paul Dana, up and coming talent Tony Reyna, which is his death is very interesting. 5-time race winner Greg Moore would be one of the best if he didn't die. Gonzalo Rodriguez, who was named by Autosport as one of the best top 50 drivers to never race in F1. Class winner and overall runner-up at the 1994 24 Hours of Le Mans, Jeff Krosnoff. 2-time IndyCar pole sitter, Indy 500 pole sitter. Sorry, Scott Braden and Jovi Marcello. If you guys want a video on, I guess, the careers of, well, most of them, because some of them are very short and have minimal information, but people like Greg Moore, Tony Reyna, Dan Weldon, and Justin Wilson, they have more history, as Greg Moore was a very good up-and-coming talent. He died in the 1999 Fontana race, which I believe was nearing the end, or was the final race of the season, and he had to drive for Team Penske the next year, so everything was up for him. Dan Weldon died towards the end of his career. It was actually supposed to be like his final race, because he was mainly helping IndyCar with the creation of the DW12, as it would be named in his honor, and he would do other things like commentate on Versus networks over races and stuff like that. So he was in retirement phase basically, and he would die at the final race in the 2011 Las Vegas race, which never should have happened. It could be a whole nother video on its own as well. And Justin Wilson is the most recent death, which happened in 2015 at Pocono, I believe. So, yeah, some history, some thought of IndyCar. Final message about IndyCar: the racing is way better than F1. F1 might be the pinnacle of motorsport, but basically everywhere else has better racing, IndyCar included, as they've got a high capacity of good drivers going back and forth at each other, and they've got like the exact same car basically. It's only based on car setup and how good the driver is. The racing is very, very close, which is one of the reasons why the 2011 Las Vegas race should have never happened, because quite frankly the racing was too close. But yeah, I'll leave you with that. Hopefully some of you guys watched the up and coming 2023 season. I hope to go to the season opener in St. Petersburg, because quite frankly I think IndyCar is a lovely series. If you want to know more about IndyCar, comment down below. If you liked the video, subscribe, hit the like button. If you didn't, you can dislike the video, tell me why in the comments. This is Lewis, out. Peace.